Yeah, that happened. Welcome to the Deal Champs podcast. I am your co-host, Stratton Brown, aka Mr. Strat Daddy. We have the man with terrible mental fortitude, Captain America, Dean Rogers. We have the master of hair with the hair out today, Mr. Jason Pritchard. What you guys didn't know is Dean has slowly broken down mentally over this 3-week vacation. It has been a struggle for us to get him on the pod.
30 days, man. 30 days. The biggest thing is the time change. Like at first, my time zone was still where like I was up till 2-3 o'clock in the morning, handling business, just excited, ready to go. But the days have been long and the kids have been crazy. So our ass is ready to get back home and just like chill out.
That's code word for his family broke him. Jason, I can't hear you.
Who would have known a 30-day European vacation would have been so much damn work, dude? Wasn't expecting Dean to flame out 3 weeks into it, man.
Right, bro? Just like flaming out, crashing and burning. Guys, I got 20 minutes for a pod today. I'm tapping. I can't handle this. It's crazy, bro. 3 weeks ago, he bragged to us about running hills and about how much mentally stronger he is than us because he runs hills. Now he's spending time with his children, and he's like, I'm done. I'm done.
Oh, man.
I guess it happens to the best of us, bro. I guess it happens to the best of us.
You know
Must be nice. Must be nice.
Yeah. You try going to 30 days of Europe doing I'm still doing hills, though. I was just telling you. The past 3 days in Positano at the Amalfi Coast, it's been nothing but hills all day, every day. I got buns of steel right now, man. I've been doing that Stairmaster all day long, running circles.
We got you. Then we got Jason flying on a PJ saying it must be nice, and then getting pulled over 30 seconds after he gets off the fucking
right
plane.
After I jumped off the jet, dude, trying to make my way to the park, dude, and I get pulled over immediately 30 minutes after pulling off of the airport, dude. It was good. The cop was cool though. He was really nice. Shout out to that police officer. I don't know who he was, but he cut us a break and let us off without a ticket, man. He was being cool.
No ticket. There we go.
No ticket, dude. Yeah, no ticket. And we didn't. I just told him, I said, man, we got a tour at 3. I'm trying to make up some time. We're running a little bit late. And he gave us a break, dude. So universe is looking out for us.
There you go. How was it flying on the PJ? Give everybody like an insight. And I think it's the best thing ever.
I think once a year, we like us on this call, we need to make the commitment to doing it, even if it's just like going somewhere, flying to an event or a mastermind. It's just the experience itself is so much different, dude. It's you literally drove up onto the runway, get out of the car, and take 2 steps and walk onto the plane, dude. And we were 20 minutes late. So I was calling and I was like, damn, dude, we're late. We're supposed to leave at 8:30. We didn't get there till almost 9. And our friend that I chartered the jet through, he was like, dude, they'll leave whenever you show up, dude. So it was like I just pulled up, pilots were waiting. 5 minutes later, dude, we were in the air. Hour and 15 minutes later, we're in Utah. I got off the jet and they had the rental car right there. And we literally went in, jumped in the rental car, took off, dude. It was definitely worth it, man.
Did you stay in any dope hotels?
We stayed in a hotel just right outside of the park. So we cashed in some Marriott points and we stayed in a Marriott that was like walking distance from the park. So, I mean, it was nice, but I mean, it was all, just a regular. Like Spring Hill Suites, nothing crazy. Yeah.
They nothing where you're going to take a tumbler from?
Nothing. No, I only get the tumblers from the Ritz, dude. The Ritz or St. Regis, bro. That's only worthwhile tumbler to grab.
All right. So I say we start off. Well, I'll actually do my intro, and then we'll start off with the topic that we skipped last week. My name is Stratton Brown. I'm your co-host. I'm currently doing a 0 to $1 million challenge, 0 to $1 million net in 6 months wholesaling houses. We have a 7-figure portfolio, and we scaled multiple other businesses to 7 figures. I have the master of hair, Mr. Jason Pritchard.
Hey guys, it's your other co-host, Jason Pritchard. Hair is out today. Decided to get fancy for today's pod. I think it's going to be a good topic to discuss. Backstory on me is worked in corporate America for 15 years, was burnt out, hated my life, hated my job. We burned all the boats in 2014, started investing in real estate full time, have not looked back since. We've done close to 450 deals since we started. We've got a rental portfolio of over 100 units here in Central California. And our goal with this podcast is to try to transfer as much knowledge, valuable advice and learning lessons to all of you guys that are tuning in and listening to shortcut your learning curve and get you to the outcomes that you want faster. So today will be a good discussion. I know there's a lot of talk about regulation and wholesaling and cracking down. And so talking about how we can prepare. So it should be good.
Now we have the mentally weakest one out of the three of us. The man who was broken by his family.
He
The mustard, it
tired.
must be nice.
He's in his bathroom on his headset. Dude, I'm just gonna freaking force it right now, bro. I'm glad that you're on, dude.
Hiding from his children in the bathroom, locking the door. Mr. Captain America, Dean Rogers.
That's right. I was trying to do the cool shot with the balcony. We're in Naples, Italy right now. We just left the Amalfi Coast, Positano. We're going to Paris, France tomorrow. Do that for a couple days, but definitely tired, ready to get back home. These guys are giving me a hard ass time. You can't see Stratton's pink shorts on right now, but you got to show those off at some point during this. But yeah, guys. So your other co-host, Dean Rogers, got some good updates. We just broke 650 deals, so that was cool. My career, I started in the NFL, transitioned to corporate, then to real estate. Been investing for just over a decade now in Central California. Done over 650 deals. Rental portfolio, another update. I've been saying almost 10 million. I just haven't updated my numbers or looked at them at all. It's 12 million plus at this point. Coaching students on wholesaling and getting started in real estate. And you guys can always connect with me at deanrogers.com.
All right.
I have a question from somebody in my IG chat. Just for those of you guys that are watching the live stream, Jessica, South Central California, asked, how does she access these episodes if she can't watch the live stream right now? So Jessica, you can always go to our YouTube channel, Deal Champs on YouTube, and this episode will be up. What do you guys think? Like later this week, if they want to watch it later?
I think Marco puts it up later this week.
Cool.
Yeah, it's usually pretty quick.
What do we have? It's out on podcast app, isn't it?
Out on podcast app. It's on Apple, Spotify, all those things.
Nice.
Yeah.
So I got a banger of a question right out the bat. If you just want to get slapped in the face and dive into this. Someone on my IG, Christopher, let's see if I can say this. Groenveld. Don't know if you guys know who Christopher Groenveld is, but he says, curious if you think wholesaling is ethical in any sense. Boom. Take it away. What do you guys think? Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. We all have our thoughts on that. Yep.
This motherfucker, Jason Pritchard, buys houses so goddamn deep. The only difference between us and Jason is Jason just takes it down. That is the only difference. Regardless, that person is going to buy that house that deep. That's just like the end of the story. People are always going to get deals because if we don't get it to the wholesaler at that price, that flipper is going in for that same price. That's all it is. Like in the marketplace, it's an open marketplace. It's free. If we don't get it down that low, someone else will get it down that low. If they don't want to list it on the market because they don't want to deal with an incompetent agent, that's one thing. But I think it's 100% ethical, and it's really what moves inventory in America as far as like real estate. Without wholesalers, there'd be a lot of dead inventory that like wasn't moving, and there wouldn't be a lot of investment capital moving, honestly, whether it be buy and hold, whether it be fix and flip, because no one knows like the back end that goes into these companies that gets these properties to market on a consistent basis and smoothly. If you didn't have the wholesalers, the economy would honestly slow down as far as the investment side goes. That's just my personal opinion. Agents can't handle it. Agents don't know how to deal with investors, really. They're used to one type of transaction to where we're a completely different type of transaction. I think it's ethical. I think it's needed. And I think if you're like, well, you're selling it off where they could have made so much money. The only difference is we just took our profits 6 months to 3 months earlier to whether if we wanted to flip it. That's the only difference, because regardless, someone else is buying it that deep. End of story. That's
Dean, you want to go?
Jason, I'll let you go first, and then I'll wrap it up.
So I agree. I think that it's totally ethical. We're legally just assigning our interest in a contract to somebody else while we're in escrow. There is nothing wrong with that. I think the market will always dictate the price that somebody's willing to pay. And I think Strat's point is right, dude. I think that seller is going to sell no matter what, right? And I think if your intent with the seller is to do the right thing, you give them an asking price that they're happy with, you give them terms that they're happy with, they walk away feeling good, and it's a win-win transaction for everybody. And that's your kind of GPS that's guiding your decision-making process, and it's ethical and above board. I don't think that there's anything wrong with wholesaling at all.
Whatsoever. And obviously, this is us disclosing everything like, hey, what is your timeline? When do you need to close by, and not locking it up too high and dragging them out and all this other stuff.
Yep.
But if you are a professional, you know what you're doing. And even if you aren't professional and you made a mistake, I wouldn't say that's unethical. You were just a dumbass and you made a mistake. And no one really talks about like, hey, if the house is owner occupied, you need to take into consideration what could go on with their life if you do not perform. Sorry, go ahead.
So I freaking love this question, and I'm excited to respond to it because I think I want to make sure to give kind of two sides of the coin to this response. I want to shed light on probably why this question is being asked, but first I want to respond, for lack of a better word, in defense of it. So I think if you're going to ask the question, is wholesaling ethical? I think you should take a step back and ask the question, is real estate investing ethical? Is it? Is anybody up in arms about the flipping houses shows on HGTV? No, people love those shows. And people are buying those houses at a significant discount because there's typically significant issues with the house or the situation with the seller. They needed to sell it. They sold it at a price that was fair for both parties. And that investor took the risk, right? Because it's not all just a gravy train. You're going to make a ton of money and get rich. There's plenty of opportunity to make a mistake and lose money. So taking the financial risk, and there can be a profit. Now, it's the same question. Like, should someone go work for a job and make money at that job? I just find the question of, is it ethical to invest interesting? Because it's a defensive reaction to, well, they deserve more. Well, look, everybody has the opportunity to sell their house, either for a cash price and sell it quick, or to sell it on the open market with a realtor. And I think most of the time the negative reaction is not coming from the homeowners that needed and wanted to sell at that price and had a great experience. It's the realtors who felt like they missed out on a transaction because of a wholesaler, because of a real estate investor. Again, the term wholesaler, I think, is an improperly used term. I think the strategy of wholesaling is just being so more widely talked about that people are being classified as wholesalers as opposed to real estate investors. And the problem with that is that there's then an assumption that these people, wholesalers, wearing this one hat, which is a wholesaler, are illegitimate. And I think to shed light on that, on the other side of the coin, I think all real estate investors in general, where they may get a bad name for themselves, is just if they didn't have the right intent from the get-go. And I think that goes for any business in any industry, that there's going to be bad actors, and those bad actors make a bad name. And so I think a common thing that can happen is someone gets new into the business. They don't quite know their numbers. They just want to make a buck and get a deal done. And they go in a little unprepared, and they convince this seller of a house to move forward with this person. And that person's numbers weren't dialed in. They weren't prepared. and ready to execute on it. So then that seller gets a bad experience. That word gets out, and that happens enough times, and now people are dubbed as, you're a wholesaler, you're not legitimate, you're doing wrong business. But I can tell you, having done over 650 deals, with hundreds of those being wholesale deals, and I can tell you with over 100 reviews on Google, that there's an overwhelming amount of positive impact we've made on our community to help people in situations that otherwise they would have maybe had a hard time or a big struggle. We solved massive problems for these people in time of need. And by the way, we invest every single month tens of thousands of dollars to put ourselves in front of these people with marketing to have the opportunity to have conversations and help them through that. So that's a very long-winded answer, but I can just say that I could rant on for another hour about just this topic.
Yeah, you ain't tired, bro.
I'm not tired. I'm woke now, baby. I'm ready to go. I'm awake.
I think it's capitalism. If you hate wholesaling, you hate capitalism, because all businesses is arbitrage in some type of way, right? To where you're finding something at a low price and you're selling it at a higher price. And if it may be in the overall transaction, you'd be amazed that like either you're arbitraging labor, you're arbitraging supplies. That is all business is at any point. Even a lemonade stand for a child, they went and they bought their lemonade stuff. They just bought it cheaper and then they arbitraged and they upsold it. That is what business is through and through. It doesn't even matter. My mom ran an adoption agency. She was arbitraging children, essentially, right? The birth mothers want to give up their kids. Families want to get placed with children. My mom has to put up the birth mother for 6 months. So she's like, hey, if I'm going to do this, I need a profit. Crazy business model, but still the mother was helped out. And then these families who could not have children were able to be put with children, right? And so you can name all these different business models that are crazy different types of arbitrages to where someone has to fill the void and give the market what it wants. Go ahead, Jason.
I think the lens that most people look through when they're asking this question, right, is wholesaling illegal, right? And it's usually a negative one. It always comes down to money. Oh, they're not getting the right money and they're not doing this. And that usually is asked by people that have never sat in a living room with the seller that is motivated to sell for some other reason besides money, guys. And that's where our business model comes in. The 90 to 95% of people that want to maximize the amount of money that they make from the sale of their house, hire an agent, they put it on MLS, and they sell it for top dollar. We're not talking to those sellers, guys. We're talking to sellers that have real life situations, real life problems that are going on. And even though the amount of money that they make from the house is on the list of important priorities for them, it's usually not number one. And that's the thing that you have to focus on, guys. So if you're asking that question because, oh, the sellers are leaving the money on the table, you have to understand that most of the sellers that we work with, making the most amount of money from the sale isn't the priority. They need somebody to go deal with the problem, solve it quickly. And that's where our model comes in. And so I think, yeah, I agree with everything that everybody said. And you have to learn how to reframe the way that you look at these things to really get a true understanding of what's going on. And I've never had a seller come back to me pissed off afterwards, dude. Like I've always, and I know, Dean, you pride yourself on this too, the reviews and the stuff that you get. We really pride ourselves on being ethical and doing the right thing by the sellers that we meet with. But it's got to be overlaid with our business too. Like it's got to be something that makes sense for the seller and it's got to make business sense for us. And if we get there, it's easy. If we can't get there, then it's on to the next one.
Yeah, bro. And we, on every call, we're like, we do this to make a profit. And we just like, we have to make money. Like we can't just do this for free. I hope you understand. And like, oh yeah, I get it, blah, blah, blah. And it even softens the blow a little bit. So yeah, whoever asked that question, they think that we're going out and scamming old ladies, to where all of us, I think, have the same policy to where if it's an old person, their child has to be involved in the transaction.
Yeah, you have to have a family member or a witness there to sign off. We won't sign a contract with an old lady or an old man or whatever if they don't have all their faculties there.
Exactly. Yeah. Nonsense. All right. You still awake, Dean? Like we're hitting that 1 minute timer. You said you only got 30 minutes in you. You ate up half of that 30 minutes with your rant. Are you good? Are you still good to go?
I'm awake now. Let's hit it.
He's good. Kids aren't banging on the door yet. All right.
Not yet.
So the topic that we were going to cover, and I guess at CG they talked about it this week, is wholesaling going to be banned in California? I am amazed that this thing has not happened yet.
Yeah.
Like,
same.
if you want me to be honest, like they're talking about implementing a gas tax, like a mile per tax, whatever, to where I could see in these major metros, because what, LA is one of the largest cities in the country besides New York, or is it the largest city in the country?
It's up there. LA, Houston.
Like top 3, right?
Yeah.
Like, so it's like top 3. I would think we'd have something in place. If it does become illegal, and I'm going to say within the next 5 years, it'll more than likely have some type of regulation in it. There will be something going on. So there will be some type of regulation in it. To where in Illinois, if you don't have a real estate license, you can do up to 3 transactions, and then you are subject to get prosecuted or whatever. In South Carolina, it doesn't even work anymore. I guess they like revoked it. You weren't able to sign any contracts, but at the same, yeah, like they took it back or something.
Wow.
I don't see them being able to take out and or assigns out of a legal document, because in commercial real estate, when I sign a document, I refuse to not have and or assigns in there because I'm going to form a new LLC. That LLC is not formed yet, and I'm going to assign it to my new LLC when we're ready to go. And that happens all the time in commercial.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and I got that from Mitch. Mitch was like, no, I put it in my personal name at the beginning. And then as we're about to close, me and that investor create a new LLC, and then we assign it over to ourselves. Or if you don't want to have to, like, it just doesn't make sense to where you could outlaw wholesaling. I'd be interested to see what they try and come up with as far as the state of California. And even if it's like something that's foolproof, you can just do transactional funding. And I'm a big fan of the free market. Someone will step in, or one of us will be able to make a phone call. Like, hey, I got this deal. I need funds for 3 hours. What's your price? Give me 2 points. It's yours. Cool. All right. The lender understands the risk. We have the buyer. We have to get harder EMD, I'm guessing, just so we can not risk our lender's money, and we're good to go. That's all that looks like.
I actually think it would be a good thing, honestly. I'm not a fan of regulation, and so I don't necessarily want it to happen. But I think ultimately, Dean, you were talking about like some bad actors in the real estate business, just like there are in any business, right? And I think a lot of the people that make it harder for people like us that are legitimate investors that want to do the right things by sellers come in. They don't know what they're doing. They're just shooting from the hip. And at the end of the day, these are humongous financial decisions for the sellers that we're working with, right? And if that's not treated with that level of importance, things like this happen and they're put in really bad spots or taken advantage of or whatever. So I actually don't think it would be a bad thing. I think some of, kind of the fly by night people that have gotten into the business kind of getting weeded out or making it a little bit harder for them to operate is not necessarily a bad thing. And I think ultimately for me, let's say a signing became illegal and you could not assign at all. I don't think we're going there. I think what's more realistic is you're probably going to be required to have a real estate license. I think it's that regulation before it becomes illegal completely. But let's just say it became completely illegal. We would just close on the properties. And that's the reason why learning how to raise private money is a very important skill set to have. We've always been good at raising private capital. Wholetailing has been our number one exit strategy this year. And that's essentially what we would do. We would just move to wholetail everything almost essentially. So I don't think it's a bad thing.
Yeah, I mean, just personally for me in the past couple years in general, anything related to regulation or someone telling me I can't do something the way I want to do it, I want to resist with everything that I have. So I think it's terrible because I just think more regulation creates new problems. Sure. I don't think it would be a problem for us. I know that we'd be able to make whatever adjustments are needed, pivot. We've made several pivots throughout the life of the business, as there have already been small little tweaks and changes with title and escrow companies, about this very subject. So for me, I feel like we're more than capable to be problem solvers and make it work. To me, I just can't stand the thought, because the moment that these people start to dig their claws into regulation, what's stopping them from cutting more people out with other different types of regulation? And I'm not just talking about the ability to wholesale or not. I'm talking about just the ability to buy real estate, what type of real estate, what price points. I mean, you name it. They're already taxing us out the ass. If you think about, you're a high income earner and you're getting taxed, we're all three of us are in California, you're getting taxed in between federal and state in the 40s, the 50s. That's just the income that you have. You go spend your money anywhere else, you've got sales tax, you've got all this other tax at the gas pump, at the grocery store, anywhere you go. So we're already getting taxed, we're getting regulated and all sorts of things. To me, I can't stand it. I don't want to hear regulation, because honestly, the people who are putting these regulations, like Jason's point earlier, aren't actually the ones doing these type of deals. How do they even know what these deals look like, or the benefits that they have in the marketplace? Stratton, you made the point. The marketplace would die down significantly, and there would be more problem properties in the communities across the entire nation if you restrict people from going to the free marketplace to put themselves in an opportunity, in a position to help a person in need and take care of this problem property. You completely de-incentivize people from doing this. There are people that are knocking on doors, that are driving for dollars, driving through town, looking for properties, taking the time and effort to find these people, which seemingly no one else is able to find, and finally make contact, get a breakthrough, and have a transformational moment in this person's life to sell this piece of property, and for the community to be improved because of it. So if you de-incentivize, if I'm even saying that word right, people to be able to do that, I think you're going to see more problems. Now, could that mean more opportunity for less people? Sure, that could mean more opportunity for me, but I still don't think that's right.
We can't hear you, bro.
You're on mute.
I want to touch on a point that you just said right now, Dean, because investors are getting a lot of flack with this housing inventory shortage that we have right now, and people are blaming investors for gobbling up all these houses. I actually think the opposite. And you brought up a good point. Like, we're bringing inventory that is non-existent to the market. Not come to market. The fact of the matter is this, dude, the shit that we're buying, your first-time home buyer is never going to buy the houses that I buy, because the houses that I buy are all fucked up. A bank is never going to lend on them. A bank is never going to provide any type of financing. So you truly have to come in with either cash or know somebody that's going to give you the cash to buy that house, to fix it up, to live in it. And frankly, 99% of first or second time home buyers are just not going to do that. So we're going out, identifying that inventory. There's lots of time, effort, and money put into finding those houses. And then we're bringing new inventory to the market for somebody to move into. And we're going to make money on the spread because we're taking all that risk. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of risk involved with buying some fucking crack house in the hood and sending your guys over there, dumping a bunch of money into it, and then selling it on the open market. And so there's got to be some type of payoff, or otherwise nobody's going to do it. So I don't want to derail our topic, but no, I see that a lot right now, dude. And it's kind of laughable to me, because it's like people blaming investors for gobbling up all this inventory, but you're never going to touch that inventory anyways. At least the houses we're buying, you know what I mean? Nobody's buying it. We're not BlackRock or Blackstone buying up new communities from Lennar, dude. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're picking off one boarded up crack house at a time, dude. You know what I'm saying? And it's like those houses, are never going to come to the market without us.
Even BlackRock and all the stuff they're buying, most new home buyers are not buying that shit, bro. Like, in these communities,
you're already priced out.
You can't get a loan, but you're priced out of it, bro. Like, you can't buy them anyways. With that brand new stuff, let's say that they buy. Well, let's say all the stuff that's like in the Midwest. Most of the stuff that we have to sell over there, people can't get loans. And this isn't like the Midwest. So to say that like they're taking over everything is crazy. I have a quick comment that I thought of, Dean. I'm start calling you Sleepy Dean instead of Sleepy Joe. You're officially
Come on.
Sleepy Dean.
Come on.
Don't
Hey,
lose it. Gotta keep it
I'm gonna shake all this the shit I'm getting when I get back in the States. And
Sleepy
we're
Dean.
gonna get you over to a golf cart chats podcast episode, and your ass is gonna be running hills.
I tried to run the other day.
See who's laughing then. We're gonna be see.
I tried to run the other day, and I almost cried. My ankle hurt so bad. I have legitimately zero flexibility.
We're gonna have you in tears on that episode.
All right, next question. And then Jason, as far as like some type of training, I see them making everyone get a real estate license, and I see nothing changes because we all know all of the terrible realtors out there who don't know a single thing, and they aren't trained on what they need to actually be trained on to solve the problems. Like a lot of these problems, only Dana Bustamante knows how to solve. It's not even us.
Frankly, dude, most of the agents that I know don't even want to deal with like some little crappy $100,000 crack house, and it's not worth it, dude. Like, here's what's going to happen: you're going to do a listing for $125,000 for a boarded up vacant house that's squatter infested. You're going to get 1,000 phone calls on it. Everybody that calls you is going to try to beat you up on price or ask you to double in the offer or do this or do that. All that to make $2,000 that you're going to split 50-50 with your broker, dude. You know, nobody wants to deal with that. So even the agents that say, and I'm a licensed agent, dude, even the agents that say they want this, they don't really want it, because when I show them these opportunities and I'm like, hey, why don't you, they don't want to do it. So there's a lane for us to work here. And I think people, don't really know what they're asking for. I've got a comment from Alexander Martin, Real Estate. He says, it's an easy win for politicians, especially when pushed by NAR, right? And so, like, let's say they required you to be licensed, right? Who's actually winning from something like that? I'm sure National Association of Realtors would be happy to have more licensed people get in there. They pay more dues. They make more money doing that type of stuff. So think about why a lot of these regulations get pushed. Is it because of the actual regulation is needed, or is there some other alternative thing that's happening there?
The biggest lobby group in the country, I think, is NAR. Like, it's like NAR, and then the whatever
from
the
like
national,
the
like,
spending
NRA.
the most amount of money.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're right up there on the top of the list for sure.
All right, what was our? Do you have any more questions in there, Jason? Do you know? If not, we'll move on.
If you guys have comments, I got a lot of people watching on my stream. If you guys have comments, do you guys want to see regulation? Do you think it's a good thing, bad thing? Let us know. Angel asked, speak on wholesale versus flipping right now. Just kind of a side comment on that. What's the benefits maybe of wholesaling versus flipping? I don't know, Dean, if you want to take that one.
Yeah, I'll jump in. This is a strategy that when we pivoted in 2019 to wholesaling first as a business, it was because we were flip heavy. We were only doing flips, and we would have 20 flips at a time going. It was cash in, cash out. It was a cash monster in terms of gobbling up all our money. It wasn't a cash machine. It was like a cash shredder. There was always money out, always felt broke. And so when we pivoted to wholesaling, we promised ourselves that we would only do the best deals to flip. Okay. Now, what ended up happening by mistake before they talked about wholesaling, and what I ended up realizing was an important part of our business, was if a deal was good enough, okay, meaning that it was an easy in and out deal that we could wholesale, but there was enough meat on the bone that we actually could buy it, put it on the market because it was in good enough shape, and sell it at an even higher price and make a larger profit. So that in itself is the strategy of wholesaling, okay? It's the two words of wholesaling and retail. It's basically like you're wholesaling it on the retail market, okay?
Yeah.
So for us, wholesaling versus flipping, I mean, to me, it's really no different. It's no different. And for us, we're only looking to do the easy deals. Okay. We used to do any kind of deal. If it was, fire damage, it was totally down to the studs. We only want to do the easy in and out deals just because we have a couple crews. We don't want to keep them overwhelmed with busy. We want to minimize our risk, all these different points that I can make. But when we make a decision, wholesale or flip, it doesn't matter. It's what the deal presents. Okay. And it's really like, hey, is this house in good enough shape, move-in ready, can get bank financing, and the market is telling me that I can sell it at a good price, that I could make the profit I'm looking to make? And is it a better profit with less risk versus taking the time and effort to flip it? So it's basically just a deal analysis to, okay, what could I sell it for if I did no work to it and put it back in the market? What's that price? What's the profit? If I were to fix it up, spend the money, sell it at the higher price, what would the profit be there? So it's just a simple going through the process to determine the deal analysis, what's the best deal in that situation. And we want to wholesale more than we flip, because in theory, you're in and out of that deal a lot faster.
Well, Jason, share your numbers with how like unprofitable flipping was compared to wholesaling for you.
Yeah, this year, my most profitable exit strategy, and I look at these numbers every single week, has been wholesaling by far. Our average wholesale deals made about $44,000 on average, and our average flip is making about $21,000. Part of that is because we partner with different people on these one-off JV deals, and most new investors want to flip, even though we tell them, hey, this is probably not the most optimal thing to do, but we still do it because there's a learning experience that you gain some value from, right? But I've lost money on 2 deals this year. Both of those deals were flips, dude. And what I will tell you, and this is the mistake that most new investors make, and we always start this show by saying, hey guys, we want you to learn from our mistakes. We want you to not fall down some of the same pitfalls that we've fallen down. 10 years in the business for me, I see this happen all the time, and I fell down this trap too. I always thought that flipping was the way to make the most amount of money out of every single deal. And it just doesn't always work like that, guys. Whatever number comes out on your spreadsheet is just a number on a fucking spreadsheet. It's not the actual reality of what's going to happen once you tear open the walls and you start sending guys over there, and all the surprises that come up when you start, working on houses like that, that we work on. So a lot of times our model is basically, unless we know for certain we're flipping it right out of the gate, which is fewer and further between right now. And we were like you, Dean, a couple of years ago, very, very flip heavy. 90% of our deals we were remodeling. Stick it on the market, let it go for 2 weeks. If I get a number that I'm happy with in 2 weeks, I'm selling it. And a lot of times that number that I end up getting is higher than what I even think I'm going to make as a potential flip. So it's a no-brainer for me. So just test it, guys. You're only losing 2 weeks by doing it that way, right? And if you don't get a price that makes sense, pull it and have your guys start going, and you only lost 2 weeks. I'd say that's what I would do.
All right. What was our other question? Would you rather have so the best way I think I could put it, would you rather have 100% of a grape or 10% of a watermelon? Right? I mean, that's kind of like what it is. Like, would you rather have a bunch of partners, raise money, and go buy some bigger deals? Or would you rather just own everything to yourself, but not as many? For me,
the partner question,
like the partner question. For me, it's like the type of scale you're going after and how fast you want to get there. I don't think you can get in real estate extremely wealthy without using other people's money. You gotta know where to get money, how to put it to work, and then if you want to hit extreme scale, I think the best person we know who's done this is Bratz. Tim Bratz was flipping a bunch of single family houses. And Tim was like, hey, this is not getting me to where I want to go as fast as I want to get there. So he starts to pivot into apartments, starts to raise money. And then now he is, let's say, a 30% stakeholder to 80% stakeholder in 5,500 different apartment units. His net worth is significantly higher because of this. And he was able to get into bigger deals and everything else. I would much rather have a mixture of both, to where I have my own portfolio that is paid down, that I don't have to answer to anybody, right? And so I have, like, if I want to liquidate these, I don't have to fucking talk to investors. I don't need to have like checkups or anything. I can just go and like make moves, because I've raised money in one company and then for our 2 storage facilities. When you raise money, you officially have a boss, because you have a fiduciary duty to report to them, make sure we're getting great returns and all that other stuff. And so having the best of both worlds, I think, is ideal, to where I can raise money. And then at a point, and we talked about this last week, Jason, with Ian, a debt fund structure, I think, is like the best way, best of both worlds. Do I have a bunch of cash that I can put to work? I don't really have to answer to anybody. And I get to retain all of the equity in all of the real estate that I buy. Right. And so our debt fund goes out. We raised 10 million. I go and I buy a $5 million storage facility. I can then go, once I stabilize it, take it to a bank, refinance, bring back all that money. And now I have that property, all that equity to myself. That, I think, is like the best way to do it. And then I have my own stuff that's paid off personally, and I don't have to answer to people forever. Because when that fund is over, I can just send money back and I don't have to unwind partnerships, have to worry about equity splits and everything else, and I'm good to go. So I think it's a more of a nuanced question of what do you want your life to look like, and do you want to have to really answer to someone? Because when you start taking money, you have that fiduciary duty. With our storage facilities, I have partners for the next 10 years. Right? Like, and one of our partners died. It was a friend of mine. He died a couple years at the beginning of the year. Now, like, we're dealing with his wife to make sure that she's taken care of in that whole situation. Like, all sorts of things can happen when you raise money.
Yeah.
And so it's good to have a mixture of, hey, this is our paid off stuff. Me and Kyle have stuff that's just me and my partner, versus we have stuff to where we have investors on. Then I have my companies that have no partners. It's whatever mix you want that fits your personality type. For a lot of entrepreneurs, I'd say we don't want to answer to anybody. That's why we're entrepreneurs in the first place.
I had a ton of people just joining my stream right now, so I'm going to restate the question, then I'll give you my answer. So for those of you guys that are in my chat or following along, question we're discussing is, would you rather own a small ownership interest in a large rental portfolio? Let's call it 500 or 1,000 units. Or would you rather own 50 or 100 units just by yourself where you have total ownership? Okay. I agree, Strat. I think the answer is both. And I want to dive a little bit deeper because I think there's pros and cons of each one. And I think you've got to identify these right opportunities and learn to make these decisions. So here's what I like about having a smaller ownership interest in a larger deal. And this is where it would make sense for somebody like me. If I have the right partners, number one. So when I mean right partners, it's who are the people that I'm going to be partnering with? And is there value that I can provide to them by maybe bringing a larger deal that I'm going to need their help taking down? And am I also going to be able to learn something from being involved with them from that deal, right? So a lot of times we think money is the biggest piece, but we all know money a lot of times is the easiest problem to solve. And so if I can partner with somebody to take down a 250 unit apartment building, right? And I'm going to learn how they manage 250 units, how they structure the debt, how they run their teams, how they do all of that stuff. And I'm not going to be able to take that deal down by myself, and I can structure and learn from that, then I wouldn't have any problem doing it that way, right? I also think that we need to be controlling a portion and creating our own personal portfolio, because like you said, at the end of the day, when the shit hits the fan and you've got to maybe sell an asset, I don't want to have to go talk to 3 different people. And we all know when there's too many cooks in the kitchen, one person wants to do this thing, one person wants to do another thing, and you're making really important business decisions. Sometimes it's just harder. And I think all of us are kind of type A alpha, where it's like, listen, I want to make the call on this thing. And so I think that there are going to be things where if you can take it down on your own, start carving off and building out your own piece. But on a large deal that you don't have a chance of taking down yourself, find a strategic partner that not only can help you close the deal, but you can learn something from it. And I think there's a balance between the two that makes the right sense.
What about
so
you?
my take on this is, I think it's important for me at least to articulate clearly is to kind of separate a few things here, because there's a lot of different investment strategies, right? We just talked about raising money. Does that mean it's somebody that's you're raising money and they are, a debt lender on the property, or is it an actual equity partner on the deal? And those are two very different things. And what type of assets are we talking about? Are we talking about single family? Are we talking about commercial? So I'll speak first from the standpoint of single family, buying just your everyday type of house. most people that invest in those type of assets are using other people's money to acquire the property, and then they're finding long-term financing, 30-year mortgages, to refinance out that private money lender's money or hard money lender out of the deal. And now they own that asset for however long they want going forward. Okay. Now, to do that by yourself or to do it with partners, like an actual business partner, is pretty common. I know for me, all the rentals that I buy are done with a partner, and I firmly believe that I go further and faster by doing that. Could I do it on my own? Could I own, in theory, half of those deals if I did on my own? In theory, yes. But I believe that my business in general goes further and faster as a result of having a partner, because of the decisions that we make together, the exponential factor of working together. So I personally believe having a partner on my deals has been good for me. Now, in terms of, would you rather, again, have a partner or own it all yourself? So for me in that scenario, to answer that question, I believe going further and faster with a partner. Okay. And those decisions are really easy to make. It obviously matters if you have an easy to work with partner. For me and my partner, buying a property or selling a property is as easy as saying, what do you want to have for lunch? Right. It's really simple. Now, if we're talking about commercial deals, which I'm not in a bunch of big commercial deals, when I see deals like that, a lot of what you guys both said, I firmly believe that in order to get into the commercial deals and to scale at that higher level, I need to be around other people that are performing at a high level in those asset classes. And if I can come to the table and add value to the deal, whether it's bringing capital, whether it's bringing the deal, and I'm able to now be in proximity of these people performing at this level in these bigger deals, and it helps bring me up into not only raising my net worth by being in a deal like that, but now learning how to operate in these bigger deals and potentially do them more regularly. I see it as an opportunity to accelerate my growth in holding on to bigger assets.
So I think one thing people need to understand, you can still get really far with an amazing partner who fills all of your puzzle pieces that you don't have. Lewis and Dean are perfect because they're polar opposites, and that is a huge thing, right? And so just like how Jason said, hey, this person brings this, you bring that, that's how we get the rocket fuel. The other thing I want to address, most of you guys, like especially the new wholesalers, they don't want a JV because like the only thing is going to be one deal. Jeff Bezos, I just asked ChatGPT, Jeff Bezos owns 9% of Amazon. Elon Musk, I think, owns like 13% of Tesla. Right? As you're thinking about doing these bigger deals, and you're doing a lot of them, they're so big that having a point or percentage, a couple percentage points of that deal is really worth it to you. Right? And there's less risk at times. There's all these other things you need to take in consideration. And it makes you more bankable when you want to go do stuff on your own too, because now whenever we want to go do big boy deals, that bank's number one thing is going to say, well, why? How are you qualified? What's your experience? To where if we can go get equity in these deals and we get a sliver and we can do a bunch of them, then it's a completely different ball game to where you can get into the type of real estate to where we talk about, where it's the big boy commercial stuff, where you're making millions and millions and millions of dollars a year on refinances and flips, and then you're gaining millions of dollars in equity. It just takes time, and most of these people aren't doing it by themselves. Like Sam Zell, who's probably the greatest real estate investor, I'd say, of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Sam did not own everything by himself. Sam had a fund.
Yep.
Right? Like Sam had a legitimate fund, and he still ended up being a billionaire. Donald Trump, I don't think, ever owned anything by himself. He still had equity partners and investors. That's just the way real estate works. You're not going to get to, in my opinion, fun, real financial freedom numbers without doing some of it.
And I think you brought up something important, and everything's at scale, right? So a big deal is all relative. Like a $20,000 assignment, if you've never done a deal, is big. You know what I'm saying? And so the thought process and the mistake I see a lot of people making, whether you're new or you're thinking about making a jump to big deals, is they account for or count the money that they're giving up. And instead, what I would encourage you guys that are following along to listen and say, this money that you're going to be participating with maybe somebody else in is an investment in future business and future opportunities. If I've always thought that way, if it's like, if I can just do one more deal with this person, if I bring value, I bring them on as a partner, and we can just do one more thing, the equity that I gave up, or the deal, the portion of the deal that I gave up, is just an investment in another deal. It isn't me giving up half the deal. You know what I'm saying? And so you have to shift the way that you think about this type of thing in order to really get that to work. Because if you're always just like trying to keep everything to yourself, I guarantee you're going to hit a plateau at some point.
Did you have anything, Sleepy Joe?
I mean, the thing that came to my mind is just to reiterate what Jason said, because that topic right there gets me really excited. That's a conversation I have with my partner all the time. If we do this and it just gets us one more deal, right? Is it worth it? And almost always the answer is, if we take all the time and effort to go down this path, or to partner with someone on a deal, right? If we're on that topic right now, and it gets us one more deal, or it turns into a couple more deals as a result of that new relationship, even though we gave up something, I think that's such a valuable mindset to have. And that's something that I have really thought a lot about and a big believer in, because look, dude, there's enough deals for all of us. And if you're sharing in deals with more people as a result of having that mindset, there's endless opportunities. So I just thought that was such a good point to reiterate it.
You got any comments in there, Jason? Any questions?
Everybody's agreeing with what we're saying right now. Most people are just chiming in right now. Cindy Fernandez said, you need to have life insurance for partnerships. And the only expansion that I will have on that is, you need to have your ducks in a row before you ever get into some type of partnership.
Yeah.
Real estate is the only business that I've ever seen where
People jump
all
in,
they
bro.
do is just talk about how they're going to chop up all the millions that they're going to make. And they literally never talk about the downside. I see this all the time, dude. And it's like, to Cindy's point, you got to plan everything, and you got to talk about all the bad things that could potentially happen, and go through every single worst case scenario and discuss, if this happens, what are we going to do? And then put all of that in writing. That becomes the framework for your operating agreement, for your partnership. And then things are going to go great. And then when the shit hit the fan, everything is in writing. So now there's no question, dude. It's like, this is what we agreed to, you know. And if we want to make any changes to it, we make a change in writing, dude. And when we do it that way, it makes very difficult conversations much easier to follow, because we've already got it there, right? People get a lot of amnesia when we've got to start bringing money into the table to close deals, not when we're getting paid on stuff, dude. And you're better off getting all of that stuff squared away from the jump.
Exactly. And we would have gotten, I guess, you can't really get life insurance on your investors, but he had cancer, and that wasn't happening.
Yeah.
No, that's something Luce and I did a couple years back. We got life insurance on each other, as basically just saying, like, let's get business insurance. And so if anything happens to either of us, we have a buy-sell trade agreement on exactly what's going to happen, how the life insurance is going to play out, and make sure that our families are taken care of. You know,
do you guys do? I know, Jason, I think you do whole life. Like, do you have like a big like infinite banking thing you're doing? And
I do.
Michael McDonald's been going hard on it. I remember when we were sitting there with Mike, he was so happy about it.
Yep. I've been putting $5,000 a month into mine for probably 5 or 6 years now. So the idea is, and it's already getting there, where you get the life insurance benefit, but then the cash that you put in accumulates. Mine is tied against the S&P 500. So it's gaining interest that way, but then I can borrow against it without diminishing what's in that account, and then use it to go do more deals. So it's a way to kind of think about it less as of insurance. I'm not an expert at this, but think about it less as like for the insurance, but more of like a vehicle to route your money in a different way, right? Otherwise, that $5,000 is, I'm just going to spend it. You know what I mean? So I've just been conditioned every month to just putting it in this account for 5 years, and I don't even miss it. You know what I mean? And now I think I've got a $3.5 million policy on me. So God forbid something happens to me, you know, Jen gets a big chunk of cash. We can wind down the business. She's got all the assets. Everything is kind of set. It's all spelled out in a trust. So it's all there in writing. So it's all worked out.
And Chris Miles can help you guys with that. Chris is a guy me and Dean know, and he does infinite banking. Are we missing anything else? Are we missing any other questions? Anything else that we want to talk about?
Blake Fullerton's of the shower background. My boy, Mar from Saudi, checking in from only when you go through a rough situation with a partner, when you know how solid they are. I could not agree 100%. It's
100%.
You'll see you'll see everybody's true colors, dude. All the true colors come out, dude, when the shit hits the fan, especially when it comes to money, especially when you've got to bring money in to the table to close a deal. You're going to see how solid your partners are when it comes down to that.
Yeah. Dude, the very beginning of my business partnership, I'm sure I've told you guys at some point in time, was actually us getting into flips and doing it in a different market, and did the wrong deals and lost over $100,000. And that was how we started our partnership. And it was just like, no, the most perfect thing happened. It showed our true colors. And what happened was none of us pointed any fingers, and it was like, all right, let's go do more deals. Let's go clean this shit up. You know, let's go fix this problem.
That's good.
And
I think we need to put that in writing at the beginning too, to where you two both know about my situation, to where I can't even look at the dude. I'm so fucking mad still. And it wasn't even like a huge sum of money, to where like in your operating agreement, if something goes bad and there needs to be a cash infusion, it'll be X amount % due to equity in the business or in the deal, because money changes everything. Money changes everything. Even with our event, right? We all when we're like, we may lose money, like, all right, all three of us are going to have to write a check on this.
Yeah.
But so like we did at the beginning. I remember that we were like, all right, we're going to have to write a big check. And we were just all reconciled that we were fine with that, dude, at the beginning. And that's the way to do it, dude. I think that's the way to do it.
Like, oh, we are going to lose money. Okay. All right. Are we all good with this? Yes, we're all fine with this. All right, sweet. Let's go. All right, guys. I think that's all. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Everybody pray for Dean. You know, like his hard life has been really hard on him right now. Like his must-be life, he's been cruising Italy with his family, and he's complaining that he's walking stairs in one of the most beautiful places in the world. Dude. But he somehow lost all of his mental fortitude.
All these couples just walking around, and there was a couple that had a wedding dress on and a suit today, just at breakfast. They just were in the most beautiful place on earth, getting pictures taken by photographers. Beautiful couples walking all over the place, and we're dragging our kids up and down the hill. So, you know,
pray for Sleepy Dean. Pray for Sleepy Dean, Captain America. That's what your new nickname is until Donald Trump gets in. Your new nickname is the President, Sleepy Dean.
Sleepy Dean.
Wait till I get back. I don't like that nickname at all. Wait till I get back.
He's gonna come back. Full Trump energy on the next podcast. Is he gonna have come over going? He's gonna have everything going, dude.
You're gonna be.
He's gonna have the blue suit with the red tie. Dude is going full Trump, dude. On the next one, he's getting the whole suit and everything. I want to see the mean comb over, bro. Like this one, like this. We want to see the comb over.
You're going down, dude. Yeah. You're gonna be wearing those pink shorts too. I'm giving you a hard time.
Oh my god! All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Do not forget to hit like and subscribe. Pray for Dean, and we'll see you guys next week.
Later, guys.
Peace.
Sleepy Dean.